It started like any ordinary night at a quiet gas station. The lights flickered against the cold pavement, and a man in a neat suit filled his tank, humming softly to himself. But in minutes, that peace shattered. 2 police officers pulled up, flashing lights cutting through the silence. They accused him of theft, claiming he matched a suspect's description. He stayed calm, his voice gentle, respectful, but their judgment was already made. The men tried to explain, but his words fell against walls built from assumption. Without resistance, he was handcuffed, surrounded by staring strangers, and driven away. He didn't shout or cry, he simply looked out the window, his eyes filled with quiet pain. What they didn't know was that the men they were arresting would soon be the one holding their fate. The next morning, the same man walked into a grand courthouse, not in cuffs, but in a robe of justice. His name was Judge Michael Turner, known for his integrity and fairness. The courtroom buzzed as he entered, his presence calm yet commanding. But behind that calm, there was a storm of memory, the flashing lights, the cuffs, the humiliation. As he took his seat, the door opened again. 2 nervous officers entered, realizing too late that the man they'd arrested was the judge now presiding over their internal misconduct hearing. The silence was sharp. Every eye turned. Judge Turner looked at them, not with anger, but with a question in his eyes. What happens when power forgets humanity? The officers fumbled through their defense. We were following procedure, one said, his voice trembling slightly. But even they seemed to hear how hollow it sounded. The judge didn't interrupt. He listened, every word, every pause, every justification. Then, quietly, he asked, "When did you last see the person you arrested as a human being?" The room froze. His words weren't loud, but they carried weight. He wasn't there to humiliate them, he was there to remind them. The officers shifted uncomfortably, realizing the depth of what they'd done. Outside the courtroom, news had already started spreading. People began to talk, not about revenge, but about responsibility. As the hearing continued, Judge Turner spoke of justice, not as punishment, but as restoration. He recalled his own mentors, who taught him that fairness means seeing beyond skin, status, or fear. His voice softened when he said, "You thought I was a suspect. But last night, I was simply a man buying fuel for my car. Today, I am a judge. And tomorrow, I hope we all remember that title or uniform never defines a soul." The courtroom fell silent. The officers lowered their heads, not because they were told to, but because the truth weighed heavy. The audience watching live on television felt something shift inside them too. The department's attorney tried to ease the tension. He spoke of mistakes, policy, misunderstanding. But Judge Turner stopped him with a calm hand. "We can't fix what we refuse to see," he said. "The real question is not what rule you broke, but what trust you betrayed." His tone wasn't angry, it was human. The officers' faces showed regret, genuine this time. One whispered, "I didn't know who you were, sir." Judge Turner nodded slowly. "That's the point," he replied. "You shouldn't have to know someone's title to treat them right." The gallery erupted in quiet murmurs of agreement. For the first time, the badge and the robe stood on equal ground. Later that afternoon, Judge Turner gave his ruling. The officers were found guilty of misconduct, not out of hatred, but because justice demanded truth. He ordered not imprisonment, but community reform sessions, work that would bring them face to face with those they served. "Justice isn't about revenge," he said. "It's about rebuilding what's been broken." The decision surprised everyone, but it inspired even more. The story spread across the nation, a tale of grace where others expected anger. Reporters called it the verdict of dignity. Weeks later, the same gas station stood quiet again. Judge Turner returned, not to relive the past, but to see the change he'd sparked. The 2 officers were there, now part of a community outreach team. They greeted him humbly, helping local kids wash cars for charity. One of them said softly, "You taught us something no training ever could." The judge smiled and replied, "Then my arrest was worth it." The camera fades on that moment, a man once judged, now judging with compassion. A story that reminds us, true justice isn't in power. It's in understanding. And sometimes, the tables turn, just to set things right.